I knew there wasn't something right because I was, as I say, experiencing those situations of post-exertional malaise, and I was still dizzy, I was still unbalanced. I'd do my job at work, come home, and the next day in the afternoon, literally like clockwork, for a couple of hours I'd have to have a sleep. And that progressively got worse, so that it was then over the weekend. So I crashed. I had blood test after blood test, and they couldn't find anything wrong. Later in the spring of 23, with somebody sort of turning around to me and said, yeah, I've got a feeling it's chronic fatigue. So literally I was told, this is what you've got, and absolutely nothing. I didn't get any help whatsoever. I just felt like I was on my own. I said to myself, I've got to focus on me. There was a recovery workshop. I signed up to that, and then literally I thought, yeah, this is what I need. This is more helpful to me. Now that I'm doing another writing course, I'm looking forward to doing a yoga retreat in September. My wife and I are going away to Portugal for a week. I have the freedom to choose what I do, and I like that. Recovery is possible. Believe in yourself, that you have it within you to help yourself get better.
I'd love to get straight into it and dive into your story about your recovery journey. And there's so many places to start, but I think it'd be cool to start before we even met, so I can get to know, the backstory of what was going on for Rob Garvey. How did this journey even begin, with chronic fatigue syndrome and the kind of the bridge of life becoming the way you didn't want life to be, basically.
Okay, so I think the way that I look at this, Toby, is that it's almost in a few parts, 3 parts or whatever. And I met you obviously before you met me, because I met you online. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue in the spring of 23. And as soon as I was told why I'd been the way I'd been for the previous period of time, it gave me the opportunity to sort of, right, okay, there's a name to it. I can then explore what that means. And as you do, as I do in these situations, I immediately looked on Dr. Google, and Dr. Google came up with lots of good answers. And you were there. So there were,
you found CFS Health through Google?
through looking on the internet.
Wow, cool.
There's a blur to a certain extent, Toby, in all these sort of things. I don't know how it happened, but when I say I found it on Google, I was searching for, I'm looking on various things. So you've popped up in my feeds on various things. So I was aware of you, but prior to actually having that diagnosis, I had spent something like 18 months. And I'm not entirely sure what the cause of my current chronic fatigue was. I have a problem with my right ear. I've got 50% hearing now in that ear. And about 18 months worth. So if we're going back to the end of 21, I was starting to get quite dizzy, getting vertigo, couldn't quite work out why. And I think I'd gone to my GP and referred me back to a consultant. So my hearing issue is something I've had since childhood. And it is one of the, I get frustrated with my health service because they haven't really understood what they need to do with chronic fatigue. But in terms of my ear, they've looked after me for 40 odd years, and asked me to come back year after year. And I often sort of say, why, but they were just monitoring it and whatever. And I had an issue with my ear, which I had a minor op, which they said that should cure the vertigo and all this sort of stuff. And it made it better, but it didn't go away. And I was still dizzy, I was still unbalanced. And, I just thought it was an issue of playing around with my ear, because that affects my balance. So, like many others, I had blood test after blood test, and they couldn't find anything wrong. And it sort of ended sort of what that period later in the spring of 23, with somebody sort of turning around to me and said, "Yeah, I've got a feeling it's chronic fatigue."
Wow. And I mean, that's a bit of a shock to the system because like you wouldn't necessarily correlate an ear, like a specific nuance ear problem. It was more than that anyway, but like, you know, like if you're just looking from the surface level, like, yeah, it's just an ear problem, you probably weren't expecting the doctor to say something like that.
No, no. But and the reason I say I can't pinpoint it and what it was, you, just prior to the vertigo, I'd had my COVID injection, your vaccination. I'd I'd potentially had COVID, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so so is it long COVID I've got? Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm not searching for that answer. As you say, that's in the past, and I don't worry about that. But you still in a way, if you don't really know what caused it, then could that happen again is always one of the things in the back of my head. But you know, as I say, moving forward right now. So
Exactly.
yeah. So when I got announced that it was chronic fatigue, I just started looking, finding out what that meant and what that understood, and it put into context and a number of things about. So I was experiencing quite severe PEM. You know, I was performing when I needed to
Post-exertional
perform.
malaise. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Now,
Yeah.
before you got sick with chronic fatigue syndrome, like what were you like? Like what were you? Because I know you loved running and all that. Like, tell me, like, what was a day in the life of Rob before you got chronic fatigue syndrome?
Yeah. So just before this incident, I was as fit as I'd ever been. You know, I'd just run my fastest ever 10K in my life. You know, even going back to when I was an 18-year-old, when I was running
Wow.
then, you know, um, the old adage of little by little becomes a lot. I'd been
Yeah.
doing a lot of training, doing really well, um, and I felt in a really good place, to be honest. I was um, I was working. So my employer, I worked for a higher education institute. I was working for them 3 days a week, and I was doing some of my own consultancy. So I was looking to sort of shift the balance between less working in academia and more working as a consultant. And that Christmas, I'd actually received, you know, uh, uh, one of the first paychecks, you know, which was a good feeling. And so it did feel like it was moving in the right direction. So
Mm.
I was in a good space.
Yeah. And yeah. So you're a go-getter. You're working. You're creating. You're doing. Like one thing that most people don't understand who don't have chronic fatigue syndrome is that this doesn't affect lazy people. Like you're not someone who sat on a couch for every single day, eating ice cream, doing nothing. You know what I mean?
No, no, absolutely, absolutely. I enjoyed what I did at work.
Mm.
I was enjoying the challenge of um, going out into on my own. Um, I've got a family, so it's not just all about work. But I've had a motto for quite a while around when I set my objectives and whatever. It was always family first. So what's important to my family? So that was always one of the ways that I sort of set things up. So I've got now two kids in their 20s, you know, happily married. It was good, you know.
Yeah, beautiful. He's just a strong, strong, integral man right there. So going from that to then receiving that diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome, what was like? Was it scary? What was going on in your head when that happened?
Oh no, it wasn't scary. As the the sense that there wasn't something right, and I knew there wasn't something right because I was, as I say, experiencing those situations of um, post-exertional malaise of you know feeling good. At that time, my running was had not fallen off a cliff, but where I was being able to run, I did part run every week. You know, where I was able to do part run in a good time. I'm now sort of 8 or 9 minutes slower, and it's like, why is this happening?
Mm.
So there was unexplained things,
Mm.
and not just that. It would be, I'd do my job at work, come home, and the next day in the afternoon, literally like clockwork, for a couple of hours I'd have to have a sleep, and that progressively got worse, so that it was then over the weekend. So all the bloods all the bloods you can take and whatever say there's nothing wrong with me. I'm actually a fit, healthy person. The body is fit and healthy.
Mm.
There's nothing actually wrong with me, but that doesn't mean I was well, and that was confusing to me. So in terms of being given a label to it, and if I'm honest, I'd heard of ME. I'd I, chronic fatigue was in the back of my head. I didn't really know what it was, but actually being told that's what they thought it was gave me an answer that I had a diagnosis. And if you've got a diagnosis, then you've got some way of understanding what you've got to do to put it right.
Mm.
So I thought, if I know this, I'm going to find out what it was, and that's what I did.
It's a pretty rare mindset to have, Rob. Like, I don't know your doctor, but like most people, when they get told they've got chronic fatigue syndrome, it's kind of like it feels like it can feel like a life sentence. You know, it can feel like, oh my God, like my life's over. Like so many people come to me and they say, you know, on social media and all that, every week, hundreds and hundreds of people message us and be like, yeah, my doctor said there's nothing I can do and that I just have to rest and things like that. Did you get told things like that, or were you more just like, yeah, like I'm just going to find a solution?
I think there was a huge frustration, if I'm honest, Toby,
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
that it's chronic fatigue. We'll refer you, okay? We'll refer you to the hospital, and they'll help you. Um, so I think this was April, and I got referred in June, and I thought that was okay. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not too long, 10 weeks,
Relatively quick for, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
relatively quick, apart from the fact that the doctors in the UK decided to go on strike, and then that put my appointment back to the end of July. So, you know, literally, I was told this is what you've got, and absolutely nothing. I didn't get any help whatsoever. I just felt like I was on my own, you
Was this
know?
NHS?
Yeah,
The NHS? Yeah. 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 God, this is
yeah,
so, so common.
yeah. So if you're on your own, you say I'm a go-getter, not necessarily a term I associate with myself, but I'll accept the fact that, if I want to find something out, I've got it within the power, and we've got it within the power to find a lot of stuff out for ourselves, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I did. And I think as we go on, I'm conscious of, moments, whether you call it serendipity, whatever you call it. And the first thing I looked at, somebody had published a book, literally, I'm not even sure it was that day, you know, on chronic fatigue. It was a new book on chronic fatigue, and I ordered it because I looked at it, and it was a really useful document to me, because it outlined everything that I'd been experiencing. So
Mm-hmm.
the wired and tired, it explained post-exertional malaise. It gave me an indication of what I needed to do to recover. Nowhere in that, though, did it say anything about how long it might take to recover.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in my head, it was like, okay, I know this. I'll get this cracked in 6 weeks. You know.
Yeah. So you are a go-getter. Yeah, but
Would
that's
it
so
be?
common is because that's just the type of people, like I said, doesn't affect lazy people, which makes recovery so much harder when it takes longer than the quick fix solution that we want. You know, we want to just rush back to the life that we had, and we can't do that. Um, what were the primary emotions that you're experiencing? It sounds like you were kind of like you jumped on the recovery wagon pretty fast, which is pretty rare. Like some people, Some people take 10 years to get going in their recovery, not out of the fault of their own, because they don't get the practical help initially. So, like for you, was there a period of time where you were, sad, frustrated? Did you feel like your life wasn't going to get better? Like, did you have those thoughts, or was it more just like, all right, I'm going to just get straight into recovery?
Um, yeah, that's it. Again, I'm a little bit blurred in that period. I've been affected cognitively, and my ability to recall some of these sort of things. Even if I look at my journal, and
Makes total sense though.
I've always journaled. My initial view, Toby, is that I'd read a book about somebody who recovered. I think I had watched some of these success stories that you had, where people had recovered. So it was like, well, I don't care what anybody's saying about the fact that nobody recovers. There's people that have recovered. Therefore,
Yeah.
if they can recover, why can't I? And that was it. And I like to, you know, understand what's going on and whatever. And I just I've never thought that I wouldn't recover. I want to, if I can, not necessarily at this moment in time, but come back to that word recovery, because I think it's quite significant to me in how I view where I am right now. But
Yeah, we certainly can. Rob, I want to share a photo if you don't mind me.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, just to give some context for people. So Rob posted this in our private group, the Mentorship Recovery Program, which he's been a part of for I guess since 2000, end of 2023, basically. Um, and now you're a mentor, which we'll talk about at the end because I think that's just a really cool part of your life now. But that was Rob in 2023, November. And I think you posted this 17th of May. So that's what, not even 6.5 months roughly changed. It's fucking crazy, excuse my French, but like it's a crazy six month before and after photo. Two different people. And we're looking at a third person here, by the way. Like this is 2025 right now. It's the 7th of August. And it's like Rob one, version one, version two, and version three. Hello, we're live and we're doing this interview. It's just like it's just amazing the inflammation that you can see on the left. You just the body. You can just it's like you've had, dude. It's like you've had a transformation and like Botox injections in your face. Like it's pretty. Like people pay to look like you in the today photo. And it's like you didn't get any of that. You just focused on rebuilding your health. When you joined CFS Health, did you do foundations first, or did you go straight into mentorship?
No, I didn't do foundations. I, if I just want to go back 6 months, before I actually joined, because I think I was always aware of CFS, and part of me was, yeah, this is where I need to be. This is the answer.
Okay.
The person who had written the book um, had a consultancy and were based locally to me, um, in London,
Yeah.
and I was I'd read the book, and therefore I thought, okay, they must be able to help me, and they did help me. Okay, but I paid to go with them rather than to go with CFS.
Of course, which makes sense. It's your local. It's in your area. You read the book. You resonated with it. That makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I had a good sense of what I needed. Um, I was working initially. Um, I got to September. Um, my situation with my manager wasn't great. He didn't understand, didn't really help. As an academic, you're looking at your workload for the coming year, um, and basically what I was asking for, I didn't get, and I was being um, given a schedule that even a healthy person, a really
Mm,
health, I didn't agree with it, even if I was a healthy person.
yeah. Yeah.
So um, I wasn't in the state to do that. So I actually took time off work, um, sick leave, took it, because I said to myself, I've got to focus on me. So that initial period of, I'll be better in 6 weeks, was now sort of pushing 3 or 4 months. And the concept of going with the author and her consultancy hadn't actually given me what I needed. So I still wasn't sure how long this is going to take. So I thought, right, I'll take the time off. I'll take however long I need. The GP just gave me a sick note, didn't really question it, didn't help, didn't ask. My referral at the hospital, I said, why did you come to me? You don't want to come to me. I'm all about rheumatism and
Yeah.
I need to refer you to somebody else. So they referred me to somebody else, and I was left. I mean, it didn't. Again, nobody was coordinating or helping me in that situation.
Pinball
Yeah,
around.
yeah. So
so common.
My wife is able to work remotely as well. So we decided in the November to take a house by the coast, just because it was an opportunity to my wife hadn't had a holiday much, but go somewhere different, help me. And there was an element, Toby, that it did.
Yeah, environment is important for sure.
Yeah, so we rented a house with 3 bedrooms. We thought the kids might come down, and what actually transpired was in November we had weekends full where people were coming down, and so I was socializing, I was doing more, and actually I felt quite good, and I went out running, and it was brilliant. Because I'd initially heard, stop running, doing the activities not doing me any good. So
stop exercise, blah, blah, blah.
I'd got to the point where, okay, let me get out there and do some running. I went running, and then sort of 3 weeks into that break, I suppose I crashed, and it was like, I need some help, I need something. And what I'd been looking at, there was a recovery workshop, I think you did.
Yeah.
So it was just a morning workshop. It was 2 or 3 hours. I signed up to that, and then literally I thought, yeah, this is what I need. This is more helpful to me. I can see what can be offered here would be more meaningful for me, and that's what I did. So that was
so good.
And I follow instructions, Toby. I follow instructions.
I know you do.
So I think you said, when you join, take a picture of yourself. So the picture that you've got there, and I have to say, that picture of me in November 23, I thought I was doing quite well. I thought I was actually making progress.
Wow. Yeah. Crazy.
But obviously I wasn't. So
Unbelievable.
So I signed up, and yeah, here we are now. But
so let's talk about that. So you joined, and what was the first initial feelings when you joined the program? And then I want to get into like 3 main things that helped you the most inside the program from a practical standpoint, just so the listeners can get some clues of the trail of what progress looks like from the photos and everything else. And we can share all the things you posted in that post. But like, what was the initial feeling when you joined? Was there a relief? Was there hope? Was there excitement? Was there like, okay, this is just good, like, let me get on with it, give me the instructions?
yeah, honestly, I look back now and it's a real blur. I wasn't well. I
You had a
wasn't well.
crap load of brain fog as well. Like, that's the other thing that people don't talk about, is like,
Yeah, it was great. There's so much good stuff here. I'm going to watch a video a day. I'm going to absorb it all. I'm going to get this, and I'll be better in 6 months. I'd adjusted the sort of time scale of that.
Yeah, 6 weeks to 6 months.
And it was Christmas. I missed out. I didn't follow the guidance that was put there about join this, do that. I know how powerful and how good those events are.
Workshop. Yeah, we do some yeah, for guys who don't know, we do special events, but for the start of the year, for Christmas, like just to make sure that we help you get through the holiday season because it's not easy when you're recovering from CFS to navigate with the family and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I didn't really I just thought I had to do what I had to do, which was watch the videos, soak it all in, and set myself up. But um, I I had an okay Christmas, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it wasn't great in the sense that the brain fog, the energy wasn't there, and it just
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel great. And
Of course.
I made a decision 2 days after the sort of main family had disappeared and whatever. I need to focus purely on me. And I signed up to that, set the year up for success workshop,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's a significant one for me because it really kickstarted me setting a framework. So I'd already been in the program 6 weeks, and that feels weird because that to me, that's when I started. I started
Wow,
I started on
fascinating.
I started on that day really. Even if I'd watched the videos, that was the day that said, right, okay, this is what needs to happen.
The fork
Uh,
in the road moment.
yeah, yeah. So you asked me what was significant. I'm trying to remember the questions you asked me, but
Yeah,
it,
well, it's funny. Like, this card's at the top of my deck today on my office, and it says, "Self care is not selfish." And like that moment that you had after Christmas, saying, "Right, I need to fully focus on me." For me, that's the starting point of recovery.
mhm.
Like, you can't, like, you need to focus on yourself in order to get to where you want to be, especially initially. So I would say number one for you before we get into like baseline and talk about progress and that stuff. Would you agree that like even though you were in the program for 6 weeks, your recovery started the day that you decided and chose right? I've got to put myself first.
Yeah, and I think that aspect of putting yourself first was, you know, I was still. So I've got to watch these videos, whatever, but I have to watch these videos around doing all the other stuff with the family and all those other things. And I wasn't buying them into the fact that, hang on, I need to go in to a space. I don't need to be disturbed. I need to focus on these sort of things. And there was an element that I said, uh, I can't recall exactly what was happening, but it would have been a Monday morning, and it was like I'm going to go on this workshop. I need to focus on it, and it and I got them to understand a little bit more about what I needed and how it's going to help me.
Mm.
So that's what I did, and that's kickstarted it. And yeah, absolutely. I got in. I'd understand the concept spent baseline in the past, and whatever. So there was much about what I watched, and honestly, Toby, I probably had watched quite a lot of it from the free stuff
Yeah,
that you put out. So
yeah.
you know, I had absorbed it all. So when I came back to it at that particular, yeah, okay, that makes sense. This is what I need to do. And
Mm.
if if I'm honest, the training that has always resonated with me, and I've still got it on the wall by the kitchen, is the perfect imperfect day. You know, how
Mm.
to structure my day in a way that helps me um, live as healthy as possible at
Get healthy.
whatever baseline you're at. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I think let's talk about that for a moment because I think it's like it's vital. I haven't met one person who has recovered who hasn't created a routine and structure that's appropriate for their current capacity and then built on it. And because recovery is not a fluke, it's not luck, it's not chance, it's process, right? It's a process and a pathway that you need to follow. And the Perfect and Perfect Daily Routine is one of our flagship trainings, really. It's like the top five because and it backs on to the baseline concept and framework, which is to help you stop pushing and crashing, to help you stop going around in circles, to create stability so you can restore energy and then make progress. And the perfect and perfect daily routine is about, yeah, finding that perfect imperfect, because every day is a little bit different depending on how you're feeling, routine and structure that's flexible and approachable, that ultimately optimizes health over a long period of time, which your photo is a proof of that. Ultimately, it's better than Botox. We should put it in a. I wish we could bottle it up and like put it in injections because it's pretty awesome. Um, but it's hard as well. Like it's nuanced. So like, you know, if you're really, really unwell and you can't do much, it's like it's a very small daily routine and structure initially, but it can be built upon. And there's enough time in that day that includes sleep time, rest time, nutrition time, energy in time, activity out time, you know, play. You know, we spoke about, you know, that there's that question that, what's the quote? You don't grow old because you stop, you don't stop dancing because you grow old. You grow old because you stop dancing. You know, it's that,
Yeah.
that typical quote.
Yeah.
Um,
I like that
and
one.
so, yeah, and so, you know, I think one of those key concepts is, you know, getting the routine and structure right basically ASAP. So you're playing at the level that your brain and body can adapt to the current stimulus that it's experiencing. So your nervous system settles, and then again, energy can restore, and then you can go and do more things. You've progressed a lot, you know, from where you were to where you're at now. Um, what What were the stages? Was it every month or every second month that you kind of upped your routine and structure, like the daily imperfect, the daily plan of yours kind of progressionally got bigger and better every kind of 1 to 2 months, like as you kept progressing? Did it look like that?
Um, not necessarily. Again, one of the success interviews are so important because you get nuggets from each one of them. And one of the ones that I'd heard early on was just focus on one thing. Okay, so you know, because you're
Yes.
absolutely all those things, you can focus on all of them. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like, okay, so what is it I needed to focus on? And
Mm.
if I look at them, um, I nutrition I had been working on for 2 or 3 years, 4 years before
Wow.
before I joined. I had understood what I needed to be healthy to be a runner. And
True. Fueling
uh,
your body. Yeah.
yeah, so I would describe my diet as predominantly plant-based, you know, um, uh, and whole foods and all that sort of stuff. So there was an element that I had a good understanding of nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but one of the first things I focused on was sleep. That how do I get a good sleep routine? What is it I needed to do? And when I understood what I was doing, you know, and what I was doing wasn't necessarily unhealthy. It just wasn't conducive to me getting a good night's sleep. And those things now are just intuitive. I do them. So
Mm.
the idea that you know, you don't watch TV and you don't watch the news at 10 o'clock at night, you know, because that was my routine. My wife and I would watch something, news would come on at 10 o'clock, you'd have a cup of tea, you'd go to bed at, you know, half 10, quarter to 11.
Mm.
And yeah, it was like I had to stop doing those sort of things. So I had to break some habits around
Mm.
that, which, as I say, habits, again, another really good gem was reading the book Atomic Habits. So
Yep.
you know, that helped
Stacking.
me.
Habit stacking.
Yeah, all of that. So yeah, in a way, there's a lot of positive stuff in the habit stacking, but the also recognizing what you've got to do. So don't sit on your phone for ages. Actually work out what your routine is and understand that good sleep starts from when you wake up in the morning and what you do during the day and how you get yourself into a position that you get ready. And I know I've written a few posts on mentorship about sleep, and it is one of those things that, you know, I know how to get a good night's sleep. I know not to drink, you know, before 7 o'clock at night. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, why do I get up at 4 o'clock and go for a wee every night? You know, and it's like, okay,
Simple things.
They are simple. So
Yeah.
it was focus on one thing at a time. Sleep was the first. Um, then it was an element of activity, and but then I moved into some of the mindset modules and tried to understand that. So when you look at the picture in June or May June, I felt like I'd gone through that cycle of understanding where I needed to be.
Hmm.
Um, and the reason that I was clean shaven and why I'm clean shaven now is a tribute to you, because you said you in one of your workshops, you know, when you achieve a particular point, when you got through a goal, what's your symbol? And I use shaving, so I shave 2-3 times a week, you know, as a symbol to me that this is the new me, you know. So
Mm,
I it reminds me that I'm doing these sort of things because they're good for me, and that's what I
mm,
need to do. So it did go through phases, and I think there's a frustration for me that I did actually get to June, July last year, and then I didn't feel like I made much progress. Um, and in part that's because I went back to work, and I went back um, into an environment that wasn't actually conducive for good health. You know, even if there
mm,
was an attempt by certain individuals in the organization to help me, and I really appreciate and I'm grateful to what they were doing. As soon as, you know, HR get involved and they say, well, he's not working, why is he being paid? And they want to take money off me, and it just creates a whole stress. And I'm not arguing about some of it's just the way that they go about it
mm,
that
hmm. Yeah, very
don't
much,
don't
you know, yeah, cutthroat.
yeah,
Not much
yeah. So
love. Not much love.
a total lack of understanding
Yeah,
of
it's
uh,
huge in the workplace.
I think you know, the misunderstanding around these hidden illnesses that are out there is a huge issue. And uh, the comparison with other illnesses where you know, if you get them, and I don't want anybody to get any illness, but the medical services know how to deal with them, and they can put you on a program, and they'll put you through treatments and all these sort of things, and then they'll do things that help you with your well-being in a way that
Mm,
I haven't experienced
mm,
much with
mm.
my treatment.
You're spot on, and it's a great talking point because that's true. The workplace, 90, I would say 95% of workplaces do not understand it, do not try and understand it. And for sure, there's some. You know, I've had clients in the past who work in some great companies who have been very, very empathetic and caring and accommodating. But you know, for the most part, they're not. And you know, we have a letterhead. I think you know this, but we have a letterhead for all of our members to use to their employees, and we explain what chronic fatigue syndrome is. We explain the recovery process. We explain that it can take time, and it's like it's a ticket to basically say, hey, give me some grace. You know, I'm going to do my very best to be an incredible employee at your company, and I'm also working on my well-being so I can be an incredible employee at your company. And yeah, it's a good talking point, and maybe I don't know, maybe there's something we can do there to support people better in their journey entering back
The,
into the workplace.
yeah, the letters, I used the letter. I used it several times.
Awesome.
I never got any comment, no acknowledgement that it had been taken on board or read or whatever it
Yeah,
was. It
yeah,
it
that's right.
it wasn't, and that didn't make you feel supported either, you know. Um,
Well, yeah, I was just thinking like it's like they're probably just like so busy with whatever they're doing in the company. They're
no,
like,
very true.
we don't have time for Rob's story. We've got to do the thing, come and work, blah 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 blah. I think the culture's changing now. I think it's getting better and better, slowly, very slowly.
The irony for me, Toby, is that so in the education, the organization that I was part of was actually being really progressive. They had what they called a mental wealth program. So
Hmm.
all these concepts that you know, they want to impart on their students. And I was I thought it was really good, and I was keen to incorporate it in what I needed to teach. So but what, you know, emotional intelligence, physical intelligence, you know, all those sort of things that you need to understand, they had incorporated into a program that they insisted. And when you then looked at how I was treated, they didn't actually practice what they were preaching in that area. But I don't want to criticize them too much. You're right.
No.
There's a
It's culture.
frustration, and I thought you were going to say the letterhead: choice, freedom, and success. You know, I am where I am today because I had two significant events that I'd like to talk about, which really helped me move forward. And I think
Sure.
in that sense, I've given them names. You know, so on the 15th of January. I've been doing really well. I get quite emotional.
Yeah, take your time. Take your time.
I call it Rebirth Day. Okay, so I'll talk about that in a moment. But then about a month later, I had Freedom Day. So they're two significant days for me. And if we go back to the Rebirth Day, I had recognized that something still wasn't releasing me. Still,
Yes. There was a, I don't know what was the word to describe that. It was like there was a limit or something like that. Like,
yeah, I was doing well. I was doing what I needed to do. I was following those plans. But the mindset coaches that we've got are great. And I bought some questions, I think, around work. What should I be doing? It was clear that I was compromising myself by being at work. But I did some deep dive. I followed the program, and sort of really did some deep journaling. And I was getting into a habit of getting up quite early before everybody was awake and doing some journaling. And on the 15th of January, something clicked. It all came together. And it was like, I'm better. And I said I want to come back to the word recovery. Recovery means that you're coming from somewhere. And I think I've always had this view that even if I go back, as soon as I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue, I now sort of understand what they're giving you is an appreciation of that's where your level of health is. And that's my interpretation. And all you've got to, when I say all you've got to do, but what you have to do is understand what you need to do to be healthier every day. So it's a mantra that I've had: every day in every way I am better and better. And again, when I use that, it used to be I am getting better and better. I'm not getting better and better. I am better and better.
Yeah, exactly.
I am. So even the communication you use and the self-talk you use to yourself is so important. And simple things like that have got me to where I was. So I woke up. I did.
Yeah, tell me about Rebirth Day. Like, what was
Yeah,
the click?
yeah. Well, so I've done the journaling, and then I've done a meditation. You know, I've just sat there, and I think meditation is one of the key things that I probably misunderstood what it was all about. And even now, I'm not sure I really can explain it to people. I just know that being able to sit by myself and allow things to be. So I meditated for 15 minutes before I came on this call, just to calm myself down, you know, and do what I need. It's just an everyday part of my life. So, and something clicked. It was like, I'm better. And I went in, my wife had got up, and I just sort of explained to her what was happening. And she had really good, really understanding, really helped me sort of, yeah, this is it. I need to move forward. we talk about dancing. It was on that day that I put on a playlist. I think it was called the Perfect Day playlist. And the first song that came on was Florence and the Machine, Dog Days Are Gone, which if you listen to that song, it was like that serendipity, all those sort of things were coming together and actually putting it to me. And I was dancing, exactly like you were saying. I was spontaneously dancing, and it was like,
Mm.
wow, it was great. The energy was in my body. I could really feel it, you
Mm.
know. So I felt like that was a significant sort of day, and I'm gonna, remember the 15th of January as the day that I was better, and everything I've done since then is just help myself get or be better and better every day. Now, Freedom Day, a month
Now,
later,
I'm going to intersect for 1 second.
go on.
It wasn't like it wasn't just that day that like I'm better. It, everything you did up until that day is what
No,
helped you
absolutely.
get to that day of I am better.
No, absolutely.
Just have to say
I
that.
yeah, no, and I think it was the deep journaling work that I'd done,
Mm-hmm.
and the things that it had brought up and revealed to me
Yeah.
about um about my ear, even, I
Mm-hmm.
the operation I had when I was a teenager, I'd subsequently found out that if I hadn't had that operation, I probably would have died, you know. So there were a load of emotions connected to that, and
Mm-hmm.
a number of incidents that had happened in my life previously, which hadn't been called chronic fatigue, but probably were chronic fatigue. And I just,
Mm-hmm.
I had mystery illnesses that nobody knew what they were, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd be ill for a while. So
Mm-hmm.
I suppose it was processing those things and getting under, you know,
Yeah.
we're provided with tools to sort of go through what I can't remember what they all are right now, Toby, but to do those deep journaling questions and actually
Yeah.
help
Well,
help help you uncover
um,
stuff,
exactly.
unlock it.
And also the practical stuff as well that you did for recovery. I think it's all coupled. It's never just one thing, but I think the practical gave you the structure to handle the emotional processing that you had to do to get through all that. Tell us
Sure.
about so that was Rebirth Day. Tell us about
Yeah.
Freedom Day.
So
This is super interesting, by the way. Thank you for
is
sharing.
it?
Yeah,
I'm at the
super interesting.
rebirth. Freedom days when I'm at my lowest.
Okay, tell me about
Okay.
it.
So I'm on a high. I'm doing well. I look at all my stats. I use data, Toby. I look at things. I'm in a good place. And then at that weekend, something happens. I'm not in a good place, and I need some help.
That's right. Yep.
And it was like, well, you're better. you know, the help. And I'm not criticizing anybody, but there is a sense that I had put myself in a position that I needed help and I wasn't getting it, and I've got to do all this on myself. Yeah, it's all down to me. And I had quite a tumultuous week, up and down. And I've been with my wife now for 40 years. Um, um, Live Aid Day, we met on Live Aid Day. We always remember it. So it's 40 years we met. Um, so um, we've been really strong, and there was a process through that week where my wife didn't know what to do to help me. She didn't feel like she could help me.
Mm.
We'd had some arguments, families, challenges, and whatever. And the day before Freedom Day, again, I'd been allowed to stew on my own, go through some torture, and I journaled through myself, and again, the power of, for me, writing down where I'm at, changing my state a little bit, and I sort of recognized that I wasn't being fair on my family and my wife,
Mm.
but similarly, it was up to me to sort of say whether or not how I wanted to go forward. And the I think what I'm the words I'm trying to say in as kind of way as possible was, I realized that actually I didn't need them to recover. There was a part of me that was probably putting too much on them, and I was being unfair to them. And when I said to myself, look, if I have to be on my own, if we have to split up, then and that's the best for both of us, then that's the best for both of us. So the next day, bit of tension about, it's not great.
I can imagine.
I'm supposed to be having my hair cut, and my hairdresser is a fantastic guy. You know, he comes to my house. He's multi-talented. He's a yoga teacher. One of the things he's not good at is being on time. And he was late, and I just stewed. It was like I didn't need it. I didn't need all of this, and I was really stressed.
Pissed off. Yeah, I get it.
I was really stressed, and he knocked on the door about an hour late, and I said, you know, thanks very much. I can't deal with this now. I can't have my hair cut. I can't have you, you know, touching my head, knocking me about. Just not in a great place. I said, if it's all well and good, I'm going to sort of say, can we rearrange for next week? And I preface that he's a yoga teacher. We've just talked about this. We've had, you know, as you do with your hairdresser, we've had some good conversations. And he's helped me. He has actually helped me in the past. He's put me in restorative positions where he just relaxed me.
Of course, yeah.
And that had been really helpful. And I said, you can only come if you can help me calm my nervous system down. So I'm really grateful to everything that he did, but he gave me a restorative yoga session, spent 2.5 hours with me. Helped me calm my nervous system down. You know, I do the exercises. I put my legs up against the wall. I understand these sort of things, but there was a way that when it was all put together in that way, it really helped me. The upshot of that was that I felt much calmer. I was able to have a much calmer conversation with my wife, where we talked through. I'm quite happy in understanding what I've got to do to communicate. I try not to bottle things up and whatever. And we used a technique that helped us talk in a way that we worked with each other. So non-violent communication is something that I'm referring to. So I've been practiced in that for a while. So we used that to work out some stuff. I said, look, if we've got to split up, we've got to split up, and that's the right thing for us to do, you know. But we both concluded that it wasn't, and we moved forward. And I think it released me again, and that's why I call it Freedom Day. It also was the day that I sort of said I have to leave work because work's not doing me any good, you know. The however much, and there's a lot around this, Toby. Why did I feel like I needed to work? I've always worked. I've always had money coming in, and actually getting to the point that I am now not earning any money was a psychological thing that I had to get my head around. You know, my wife and I are okay. My wife earns, the bills are covered. Okay, I'm not putting money into my pension pot and those sort of things, but at the moment I just have to focus on what's right for me. That come back to this, you know, the self-care aspect. I have to put me first, and that's what I had to do. And that was the day I said I'm leaving work. And I left work on the 31st of May. So that's February. So it took 3 months to leave, and that wasn't even my notice period. I mean, it was a farce, on in a way. And I was constantly compromising myself. And since I've been released from that, I think I've made quite significant strides in the last 2 months. I feel like I'm in a much stronger position as to where I am right now. So, you know,
Yeah. And a person as well, not just physically, but just as a human being.
yeah.
Wow. What a story. Like it's really cool because what the second part, the Freedom Day was birthed out of not freedom. Like, do you know what I mean? Like there was so much pressure. There was like it was like they always say, just before a breakthrough it feels like it's a breakdown.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a good description,
You
probably.
know what I mean? It's like just before that breakthrough happens, like it feels like it's the biggest challenge in the breakdown. And so it felt like it forced you to look at everything in your life that wasn't working to to change it or to end it. Do you know what I mean? Like, which is great because you ended the job, which is good. You kept the relationship, which sounds amazing. It sounds like you guys have got a great story, and probably stronger because of that day and that moment. Probably a better relationship now, I'd imagine. It's pretty wild, and I think it gives a lot of people hope when they're going through those days where it's like the back's against the wall. Feels like it's the end, but it's like the breakthrough. It's like the next level that happens. So I wanted to say thanks for sharing that because
No.
it's a big share, and it's a very personal story.
Can I mentioned this to Ash. So Ash is the one who does all the stuff behind the scenes, doesn't she? So
Yeah, Ash
uh,
organized this interview. Yeah, shout out to you, Ash. Thank you.
she invited me to do this interview, um, and I hesitated because I wasn't sure I wanted to,
Hmm.
and that's because I don't have a vision board. I know it's something that you encourage people to have, and whatever, and I've always struggled with that, and I'm still working on it. But
Hmm.
you know, I will be better when I do my success interview with Toby. Has been on my radar. Similarly, I will be better when I run parkrun again. I
Yeah.
said I was doing the success interview, and I told her that I was doing it, and I just broke down.
Mm,
And I think it was that, again, that emotion that you've got to that particular point, and that you're achieving something, and it is a real
yeah.
privilege to be able to do this, Toby. So sharing my story, if it helps anybody, then I'm you know it's been a pleasure of mine to do this. But you,
Mm,
you know and the other thing that I shared um with Ash was that I've been writing this story for 18 months.
mm,
I've got a book, I've got several books if I'm honest. But one of them was my CFS story, and it's a series of chapters that are interweaved about um, being in this program. And there's this um, guy that runs it, and he does success interviews, and I interweave the story. So I've been talking and telling myself this success story since I started. Well,
wow. Yeah.
so I shared with Ash, the fact that it's 9:03. The other guys in the other side of the world, 7 o'clock or whatever it is your time,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
here we are. So, yeah,
Super cool. And it's common, like one, not everyone gets asked to do a success interview. So there's
thank you.
that. That's a privilege. We asked you for a reason. And two, because your story is amazing and look how far you've come, in your journey in life as well as recovery. Um, and the funny thing is like so many people have the same story as you of just like, I'm doing this for me, like this is a milestone for me and to help other people. And it's just cool when it happens, like I had a success interview with a lady called Anina, who's also a mentor, her from Europe, and same thing. She's like, this was like a goal of mine, and I'm doing it. which is just awesome. So, Rob, as we wrap up, I want to ask you two questions. One, what's Rob's life like now? You're a mentor at CFS Health, which means that you give back to the community. You're sharing, inspiration and posts and your own wisdom of what you went through, and you're doing it right now to the wider community and also the members here. But one of the that's a real, I think, a highlight, in your life, to be asked to be a mentor, and you do an incredible job, by the
Definitely.
way.
I
But
appreciate that.
yeah, tell me, like, what's life like now? You're writing, you're starting to write. Um,
So there is an element of I've not put any pressure on myself since I officially gave up paid employment, and I've sort of accepted that I'm just trying to find my feet in what's going to happen. Um, I'm I'm not I'm doing another writing course in September, and I feel the the sense of how we use our creativity and how important that is to recovery is sometimes we haven't talked about it, but the writing is whether it is my deep journaling or some of my creative writing, they take you somewhere and they relax you, they do something
mhm,
that help you. So I'm looking to do that, but I'm not putting myself any pressure on myself to do anything. My
mhm.
wife says I've retired, um, which I don't like necessarily that word retired, because that means
No,
retired.
it's not. It's not really. Yeah, it's not really.
I
It
don't I
doesn't
don't
suit
want
you.
I
Yeah.
don't want to be tired again, you
No.
know.
No.
So that's I'm just exploring what's happening, and I get up each day. There's a paradox of recovery, is that you want to have a structure, and you want to have goals and aspirations, but actually wake up each day and see I have the freedom to choose what I do, and I like that. And at the moment, I'm exploring what's happening. I'm doing what I can to support others. I volunteer on a couple of other things, and I'm just so I support an organisation. And on Monday, I'll be taking a young person, so somebody who I see monthly, and I'll be taking them up to London, to the London Transport Museum, which will be both an enjoyment, but also me pushing my boundaries. And
Mm.
but I'm confident that I've got the capacity to do that now. So
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to doing a yoga retreat in September.
Cool.
So I'm doing the yoga retreat is
Is that with your hairdresser?
it's with the organization that he knows. So
Oh, there you go.
he put me in touch with somebody who does restorative yoga,
Mm-hmm.
yin yoga, I think, as well, but
Mm-hmm.
restorative yoga. So I do that every Saturday for uh, a couple of hours, which is fantastic. And then I do it during the week. But I've now built up my strength that I'm now doing other yoga. So my wife and I are going away to Portugal for a week, so I'm looking forward to that,
Amazing.
to do that, and then let's see what happens. I'm one of I Toby. There's so many things I wanted to talk about and could talk about, but intentions, your journal, I've got it here,
The daily planner.
the daily planner,
Yep.
how I use that and how I use that every day, and how important that was to me, um, at creating those intentions. Um, but I've lost my thread of what I was going to say.
Well,
Um,
you were talking about your future, and you're like, I don't know, like you're exploring life, and it suits you because you haven't had the opportunity to do that over the last few years. You know what I mean? But I don't know, Rob. Rob Garvey's got a pretty damn good author's name to it. I'm thinking a couple of books are going to be published in the next
couple,
few years,
yeah,
maybe
maybe,
more.
may, maybe. Well, I have a series, Halo, I call it the Halo series. So there is
There you
something
go.
there.
See,
The the
I
cre
told you.
the
It's
creative
going to
juices are
happen.
there.
It's
Excellent.
going to happen. As we wrap up, I'd love to know two things. There's people listening to this right now who who are at the start of their journey or in the middle of their journey, and they're at that point where, I mean, they're either feeling like they're giving up, they feel like they're not getting anywhere, or they feel like recovery is not possible for them. What's one bit of advice you'd like to give them?
Recovery is possible. Recovery, we've talked about it in this. Absolutely. Um, there are so many things that you can do for yourself. Um, I, I, the one bit of advice is believe in yourself. Believe in
Mm.
yourself that you have it within you to help yourself get better. I well, I think that's probably a change with me as well. That you talk about, you want the magic pill, you want the quick fix. Ultimately, our bodies are amazing things, and understanding the mind body connection, how that works, have been instrumental in helping me. So believe that recovery is possible, and understand and allow your body to um, help you recover, because it will recover.
Yeah, lovely, great advice. Um, you as a mentor, you see people getting better every single day inside mentorship. People from all around the world get better. You're one of them as well as a leading example. And for those people at home who have been, found CFS Health through Googling, and they're looking at joining the program, but they're like, I've already know all this stuff, or I'm not sure if it's going to work, or should I do it, or is it a scam? What would you say to those people who are interested in joining but a little bit hesitant?
I I think that you can find all the information you need. You're fantastic in all the free stuff that you give.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we've got also
it's,
we've got a great YouTube channel. We've got we've got so many free trainings on our website. Yeah,
yeah, and I know I tapped into that before I joined. I think
it's good.
the the way that I'm a cost man, so I never want to spend money unless I know what I'm going to get for it. Um,
Hmm.
the saying, the Chinese proverb saying, if you ask a healthy man what he wants, he'll tell you 1,000 things. If you tell ask an ill person what they want, and they only want one thing. And
Mm,
I think if you're going to spend money, if you're going to invest money, you want to invest it in your health in the best way that you can. So what the investment that you get by coming onto the program is, yeah, you get the information, but you're also part of an amazing community of people that are in a very similar position to you. Um, there's always somebody. We're all unique. We've all got our own unique stories as to why we're here. So there might not be somebody exactly the same as you, but actually, there's plenty of people that have been in a similar position, and the help that is available, not just through the coaches, through the mentors, but everybody on the program. You can post something on the Facebook page, and it's overwhelming how there is always somebody there that's going to help you. So, you in that, I sort of doff my hat to you, because I think you've created an amazing community, an amazing support network, that um, means that I am where I am, and I know plenty of other people are, and I genuinely believe that it will be the best money that you can spend, because you're investing in yourself, and you're investing in your future self.
mm, mm, beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing, Rob Gowie. You're amazing. Uh, oh no, I'll see you soon because you're part of the team here at CFS Health now as a
Thank you
mentor.
very much. I've got my
But thanks.
mentorship t-shirt on.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. It's a real honor. I said that to the group of mentors the other day. It's an honor to be a mentor because, again, it's a selection process. Not everyone can become a mentor. It's selected, and it's a reflection of you as a person who cares deeply about people, who has wisdom, innate wisdom to share, and is someone who gives back. And so, you know, and just you sharing your story tonight, and the depth and the individual unique story that you have is just is special. And I really, I'm excited for your future. I can't wait
Thank you,
to
Toby. Can I,
see him.
I could keep talking, and I'm sure you want to stop this, but I posted something yesterday, about energy and how energy works and standing in a river. And there's part of me that I thought about this a little bit more. So if you're standing in a river and you're trying to go upstream, you're using a lot more energy and effort to get anywhere. And I saw that as you're looking back at your past, at where you've been. Whereas if you turn around and go with the flow, you use a lot less energy. It's a lot less effort. And we want to be looking forward, but actually we also want to be staying present in the moment, not looking too far ahead, but stay in the moment. And I thought of you, because you love your surfing, of you being on your surfboard, and there's probably the same analogy of you swimming against the tide, trying to get through the waves, and you can't see where you're going and whatever. But then when you get on the board and you surf, I can see your smile. I can see you surfing through that, and how much easier when you get into the flow, how much easier it is. And I think that's, understanding what you've got to do to enable your energy to flow more easily within your body is something that I'm not an expert in, but I'm loving the experience of feeling when that works.
So good. You need to write a book on that. There's a chapter right there. Man, thanks so much. I appreciate it. This is amazing. On behalf
Thank
of
you.
everyone at CFS Health and anyone who's watching this right now, thank you. You are amazing. And we will speak soon.
Thank you to you as well. Cheers, Toby.
Big love, man. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye now.
See you, Rob.